Like I started to get the feeling that people don't believe, they don't think I'm reliable. And I wasn't. It's true. I wasn't reliable. I was staring at the abyss. I was like, there's no coming back. I was breaking. I was falling apart. You know, just keep sleeping. I didn't want to get out of bed. It's possible I was depressed. Cricket captain used to call me pansy and all. I had no idea what, I thought chimpanzee or something. I didn't know what he actually meant. What is stopping me from trying to pursue my dreams?
You know how as actors we have phases where we have these moments where you're like, maybe it's time to give it up.
I have an understanding of the craft, but I just don't have the stomach for it. I knew it was going to be tough. I miss her. I wish I had more time with her, you know. In the depths of winter, I find there lay inside me an invincible summer. Now I'm crying. I faked it at Indian Metro and now I'm totally crying.
Hello and welcome to The Real Story with Sanghamitra Hiteshi, a podcast that explores the human journey of my guests, a journey of success and failures, of loss and growth, of brokenness and resilience. I'm your host, actor and writer Sanghamitra Hiteshi, and today I'm going to be sitting down with a new guest and exploring their real story. My guest today is someone who I believe can charm his way out of anything. One of the nicest people in the industry that I've met and one of the most fun and finest co-actors I've worked with. From playing ruthless gangsters to all kinds of cops, sexual addict to a sensitive progressive father, a depressive soul to a sociopathic murderer, he can make the most deplorable of characters likable and human. Born in a small hilly town of Kodagu in Karnataka as the only child to a working parents, he learned quite early to live by himself, which he says helped him develop a rich imagination and a richer inner world. I couldn't dare tell anyone that I wanted to be an actor, he once said, from the fear of being ridiculed. Yet life had its own plans. News 18 called him the new face of modern masculinity in India, which I absolutely agree with. And this is what Hindustan Times said about his performance in The Hard. Gulshan Devaiah plays the character of Devi with such magnetism and grace that it's hard to look at anyone else when he's in the frame. Gulshan Devaiah, sorry. Welcome to The Real Story.
Thank you, sir. That was a glowing introduction. I can't remember the last time I had such a glowing introduction. Thank you. It's really sweet. I'm very flattered and I'm very glad. And you did a wonderful job of introducing me. I feel really good. You've softened me up. I'm melting into the chair.
That was the whole point.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, now I'm ready to.
Just a small correction though.
Yeah.
So, I think your research is pretty sound, but I wasn't born in Kodagu.
Oh, you weren't born
No,
in Kodagu?
My parents are from Kodagu, so by race we are Kodavas, from belonging to the land of Kodagu. But I was born in Bangalore city. Yeah.
Okay.
And I grew up mostly there.
Oh, okay, with Bharat Petroleum. No,
Bharat Electronics Limited.
Electronics,
yeah.
Where your parents were.
Which is a PSU, so my parents used to work there.
How is it growing up as a child by yourself, and what was your first impression of the world around you? I remember my first impression of the world. Okay, this is how the world is. What, do you remember it?
Yeah, sure, yeah. I was very innocent until probably my early 20s. I lived in my head, in my imagination a lot.
Which was?
I was alone. I wasn't particularly lonely as such because you get used to sort of doing things on your own and you keep yourself entertained. I mean, I was living in my head. I didn't have any realistic understanding of how anything really works, and I would believe.
You thought the world was a great place.
I didn't know. I thought the world was what I imagined it to be. Anything outside of that, I think it was a cinematic universe that I had.
When you grow by yourself and you live in this imaginary world, sometimes it's difficult to make friends. Is it easy for you to make friends? Was it easy for you to make friends?
बन जाते थे ऐसे. I don't remember it to be difficult or easy or anything like that. I think I was also very lucky because most of them found me very adorable. बड़ा क्यूट सा एक बच्चा था मैं.
Charming तो आप तब भी थे.
No, वो तो मैं पता ही नहीं था.
Because I watched somewhere where you said you were a really shy person.
I was very shy, yeah.
And if we really go to the core of shyness, is I will be rejected for who I am, so I need to
I suppose.
So then, did you develop the charm as a breakthrough?
I would say I'm still quite shy, but then in our line of work, it's sort of gets in the way of a lot of things. So you learn how to overcome your shyness periodically at times, and then I think as you grow older, the focus was on to be more comfortable with who you are.
I always identified myself as an introvert, but I realized that I actually like meeting people.
Meeting people.
And then maybe I was with the wrong people in the beginning of my life,
I don't
where
know.
I realized.
Maybe you like meeting people in short spurts. You know,
Yeah,
I like meeting
actually,
people,
and then I need to
and then
like
I don't want to meet any people.
meet and
Because
then
I
refuel
totally
myself.
I like people, but then I also don't like people. So I want to be by myself also. So, so maybe because I was cute and I was like, things. So I think a lot of the older kids also took, they didn't treat me badly or anything. I was very protected. Yeah.
Nice childhood.
Yeah. And my dad used to take care of everything. Mom, dad. I didn't know anything until at some point in my teens I started to realize that I have to learn how to get shit done. Because this is an important ability, because it builds confidence, right?
Yeah.
Like if there is, I don't know, if there is a switchboard that needs some changes, maybe I'll call an electrician.
Yeah.
But I should know how to do it.
Yeah.
The fact that if I know how to do it, then I feel better about myself.
Yeah.
I can take care of things, the house, responsibilities, another person, I can do that. So I didn't have that when I was 16, 17. And I went through a very tumultuous phase, and there was a lot of turmoil, and I didn't know what to do, and I was scared of being in the real world and all.
So, what triggered that? When did
You grow up and you start to see that people expect you to get things done. People look at you differently. Very protected. Particularly from my maternal side, my grandmother and my nani ji and my aunts, they took wonderful care of me, and I'm very grateful. I grew up mostly. Apart from dad, most of the caregivers were women.
Like you at one of the interviews talked about being effeminate and being judged for being effeminate. But I
don't know judged, but then they were also kids. Yeah, they didn't know any better.
I mean, when I say judged, what I mean is that it's not the norm.
I feel that the judgment thing. I can easily take a shit on all of those people who kind of made fun of me or something like that. But the fact is, they were also kids. They were my age or slightly older than me. They didn't know any better.
Also because the whole language around what it is to be a man and don't feel, don't cry.
I have some physical thing also.
Look at this.
Yeah. You look at my elbow.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when I swing my arms, it gives me a very feminine sort of a thing.
Not really, but
no. But I learned how to walk differently.
You've learned how to walk because you can't.
Because sometimes I don't realize it in certain when I'm doing masculine parts, and I can't. It really stands out too much.
Oh.
Yeah, I noticed that really when I was in my 22, 23. So when I was young, perhaps I used to walk like that, like a babe. My cricket captain used to call me pansy and all. I had no idea what. I thought chimpanzee or something. I didn't know what he actually meant.
For women, it doesn't stand out. I think it's mostly probably the male.
Something
gaze.
like this.
The female gaze won't even notice it.
No, not really.
What is the most foundational thing that you've learned from either of your parents, your father or your mother, that you still hold quite close to yourself?
Yeah, my dad is very punctual, and then he believes he used to say quality over quantity. That's something that really stuck with me. My mother used to paint oil paints, used to write plays and translate things and sing and act, and all of those things she used to do. So she was very artistically inclined, and I think if she was born in a different time, or if her circumstances were different, she would have definitely pursued the arts.
I mean, I feel like I'm living my mother's unthoughtable dream. I don't think she didn't even think it. I mean, now when I look back, I'm like, okay, she, put the seed of it in many, many ways, even though she's not very happy that I do this. But it comes from her, and she might not want to accept it. But so I feel like
I don't know with me if that's the case. My mother never stopped me from doing it. She always encouraged. Neither did my dad. They never stopped me from don't go, don't pursue this or anything like that. They were a bit worried, particularly my father, for a time when there was that uncertain period, in my from my late teens to my mid-20s, I don't know what he's going to do with his life, that sort of a thing.
Around this time, your late or mid-teens to the mid-20s, when you would go to bed,
Yeah.
what would be the thought in your head?
Oh,
What
I
were
just
dreams and what was
Oh, it
the
was
imagination?
crazy. I think it was. I was extremely insecure. I don't know what to do. I was very scared of being in the real world, of taking responsibilities, and I didn't want any of them. And it almost is like I just want to go to bed and just just keep sleeping. I didn't want to get out of bed. It's possible I was depressed. It's very possible. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not diagnosing myself in hindsight, but it's possible. So I was scared. I was really scared.
And so the friends you had around this time were friends that you had made maybe when you were in your first standard or
Yeah, I had new friends
so,
also. Because every time you go to a new place, like I went to
Okay,
NIFT,
moved, yeah,
and I
yeah.
made new friends over there because from that
The
was
reason I ask is because you're so different. I mean, I've watched your interviews to the person that you're talking about in the mid-teens to the mid-20s, and I want to understand like what really made
I
that switch.
changed. I wanted to change.
So could you tell me one memory that you have around that time where that was like, okay, I need to change?
I was very naive. That's the word. I was very naive. I was not pragmatic at all. I was too much filled with idealism. And then when idealism clashes with pragmatism, usually pragmatism wins.
Cynicism
And then
comes
you
in.
complain and you whine about how everybody is just like there's no
I'm the
purity in
victim.
craft and art and victim. Yeah. See.
Yeah.
And I got really tired of it. I would say the real transition started to happen around 27, 28 is when I started to see that I need to make some changes in my lifestyle, in my approach. How does one do it? It's like learning a new skill.
Yeah.
You have to keep, in the beginning, you don't know, like playing the
You
guitar,
need to
right?
be first self-aware.
Yeah,
that
it's like
this
learning
is-
how to play the guitar. Your fingers are going to hurt, you don't know what, your fingers are not moving, but you keep doing the first week, second week, third week, fourth week, and depending on how much aptitude you have, it gets better.
Why fashion design?
I didn't really have the grades to sort of go pursue any other kind of like technical education. So I cleared my 12th, which was like junior college, in 2 attempts. So, and it was 53% or something like that. That really limits your opportunities in 1996, 97
So
careers.
fashion design at that time was
Was
like
an alternative career. It's like engineering, accountancy. The
MBA?
really good students were going to be doctors. And in doctors, you have tiers. You have MBBS, then you have dental, and then you have physiotherapist.
53% and your parents.
And
what
then
was
I
their
didn't know
response?
what to do. Of course, they were really upset. Like, particularly my father, he was very upset. And sometimes I think it was, he couldn't contain how upset it was. So it would sort of project in some other things, like the age. Like it's
But
a
like
lot of
today,
pressure
the
on him
person
also. Yeah.
that I hear and the one like I've hung out with you even at Common Friends Place and at the set of The Heart.
Yeah, Satya,
And-
no? We met there, no? First time we met with
first time.
Satya.
You do come across as like a nerd. So maybe at that time you were
Yeah, that
always
was
an
Satya.
artist and
Every conversation me and Satya have also. Satya is Satyajit Dubey, he's a friend of ours.
yeah.
Wonderful
An
boy.
actor, yeah, wonderful
Yeah.
actor,
He's
fun
an
person,
actor, fun, superb dancer, and
hyper energetic.
all round like a handsome, cute guy. So we sometimes have like long conversations, and then I become too analytical about things, and he's like, but he's a feeler, like, and
No,
I feel.
but you're a feeler too, like you.
No, I have to be consciously again like start doing that. I get too much into like
The
analyzing
abstract of
something.
it, abstraction
Yeah,
of
and to
it.
understand something, it gets very academic.
I love
and
that.
then
I
there's
love
no feel in it. And Satya actually pointed it. He's like, Gulu bhai,
ऐसा नहीं है,
feel
ऐसा
nahi
नहीं है.
hai." No. Once he said that, no, I realized that I need to also feel things
Oh, okay.
and have a balance of like understanding something.
You're stoic?
I don't know if I'm naturally, but it's something, the idea of stoicism really interests me, and it helps me also sort of maintain a certain balance.
Because I tend to look at life from like anthropological, sociological, psychological, emotional. I'm a big feeler,
Yeah.
but I'm also quite nerdy at like I want to understand the why of a lot
Yeah,
of things.
yeah.
So
Same,
even if
same,
someone
same.
says something like, "But why would this person say
Yeah,
this?"
yeah, I
and then I would like go to where they come from and okay, this is what they do.
Yeah.
Like that's why it's so important for me to understand that this human being that I'm meeting today has traveled so far from the teenage years that
I
he's
think
talking
so.
about.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And so, what were the foundational moments which brought you here?
Again, a lot of realizations of that I lack the confidence that many other people had already, and I would
And it was
see.
important for you of how
They
people,
were
what
like,
people
I'm
thought
like,
of
I
you.
have the skills. I'm way more talented than these people. I just don't have the self-confidence to sort of approach it. And that's why they seem to be better, you know. I had to sort of be that person who can take up responsibilities, who can have a certain skill set, and I can use it and I can get things done.
So maybe when you were younger, what you weren't given were responsibilities. And so when you did have to
Yeah, I wasn't really responsible for
for
anything.
anything.
And
So
suddenly
and that
everybody
is so
expected me.
important to develop
Yeah, and
confidence.
suddenly everybody started looking at me like, no, you have to take this. I have no idea.
You mentioned that things really started to change at the age of 27 and 28.
Yeah, I consciously started to change things.
What do you think was lacking?
I had a pretty bad opinion of myself. So I was like, this is not cool. This has to change. I cannot have a bad opinion of myself. And if somebody would say I am undeniable, undependable, they are right. And that hurt me. They're like, I don't want to be this person.
So tell me that day when you were like, okay, I'm going to Bombay.
I had a colleague, his name is Padmanabh Rao. So I used to teach in a design school called Vigan and Lee College, and he was in the computers department. So we became friends. He was a little older to me, but he took a liking to me, and then we would hang out and talk and all that. And he told me once that he wanted to be a news camera person. I had never heard of anybody in my life who wanted to be a news camera person. That's very specific.
Yeah.
News camera person. He took
Maybe
leave.
documentary filmmaker he wanted to be?
No. News camera person.
Okay.
And then finally he quit, and then he full time went into
Being
he got
a
a job.
newsman.
Yeah, news camera person. So they take a camera and go and cover stuff. for them.
Yeah.
And he had a family, his parents, his wife had a job. He had a young girl and another one on the way. So he sold his car, and I was like, this guy has so many responsibilities, and so he's still taking the risk of changing his field completely. And he succeeded at it. He had so much at stake, a lot to lose. What do I have to lose? Nothing. I'm not running the household. My parents don't take money from me. I'm not married. I don't have any responsibilities. What is stopping me from trying to pursue my dreams? Nothing. When this guy can do it, why the hell am I sitting at home and getting fat? Then I joined the gym with my friend Preetham Kumar, and I went to a gym which is really free. He's like, bro, aren't there gyms near your house? I was like, there are, but I won't go there. But if I have to come and pick you up in the morning every day and then go to this
Because
gym, I'll
then
be more
yeah.
consistent with it. So I'm tricking myself.
And so then one day just packed your bags and came to Bombay.
And then no, I planned it. I had a little bit of money, and of course, my parents never really opposed to, but I wanted also for them to feel that okay, maybe he can. I was also doing a lot of theater, and I wanted to see if my craft is getting better. So I started to see that there was an increment in the kind of responses I was getting from people, and also slowly, my roles were getting bigger. Because because people were trusting me with more bigger parts and all those things, and they thought I was good. And then senior people from the theater circle, a lot of NSDNs and all that started to say that, oh, you were the best thing about the play and stuff like that. And at home also, Dad would never casually give his.
But they would come and watch your plays.
Dad would come. Mom, because of her illness, not so much, but Dad would come.
Tell me one review.
So he gave Mom a glowing review of me once. I did a play called Kurukshetra Burning, which is a translation of a Kannada play called Smashana Kurukshetra, which was written by a very famous poet called Kuvempu. It's a almost fictitious retelling of what happened after the Mahabharata war and all that. So I was playing Duryodhan. It's very melodramatic, very emotional scene. And
your dad?
I was very method at that point of time. I used to very emotionally prepare, isolate myself and all that. But the performances were great. I used to get into flow state. So my father saw one of these performances in a proscenium style stage. On a proscenium style stage, he went home and he said, I didn't like the play, but your son was just excellent.
How did
He
that
was the
make
best.
you feel?
And my mom called me and she told me, yeah, your dad saw it. He didn't like the play, but he liked you very much. He said, he couldn't stop talking about you, she said. I felt really good. I think I wanted that kind of validation from my father because I think it was embarrassing for him at times to sort of, somebody from the family would ask him, what is your son doing? So he wanted to say nice things, but I think he didn't have to
So
hear.
he didn't tell that to you
No,
directly?
he told me it was good, but he didn't give me a glowing review.
Like
My
he-
mom was like, he couldn't stop talking about you types. It's like that.
That's so moving.
I think that fulfilled that need for validation from within the family, from
Yeah.
like your caregivers. And then the amount of work and the responses from people, it started to grow. And then prominent actors from that particular industry, from theater, and they start to give you validation. People who you admire take notice of your work.
What do they say now? Do they text you when they see your performances and they write to you and because they've actually seen
A lot of them,
the
a lot of them
entire-
follow my work, and I used to get messages on Facebook and sometimes on my phone also from them. And there used to be this gentleman called Utkal Mohanty. I think he was the avid follower. He used to watch everything that I did. He passed away a few years ago, so he used to watch everything, and he used to send me a message after he watched. And it's usually like an analysis of what he thought of
How generous.
the story of the film and things like that.
So when you came to Bombay, what is the first vital lesson you learned that you wished you had known before?
That a lot of people are very angry and carry a lot of angst and negativity about the business and people in power, and they inevitably end up recruiting everybody into
Into it.
And it creates so much poison.
The victim cult.
Yeah.
The victim cult.
That's the first thing that got to me, is like, people are really pissed off here. Like, they all feel that they should be in a better position than they are. And some of them are doing quite well, in my opinion. I was like, if these people are complaining, then...
Who were your role models around this time? Your filmmakers that inspired you at this time when you were just beginning?
Ram Gopal Varma, I had never met him before, but I was like, okay, because the type of cinema, he changed the landscape of how...
And it was relatable, and you saw people
and it created opportunities for a set of actors who kind of like would get much smaller roles or character roles and stuff. Like Manoj Bajpayee was the leading man. When I saw him sort of break out, I was like, my God, this guy is crazy. And he's people are accepting him for the way
I mean, I as a young girl in UP, I never saw anyone who looked like me.
Yeah.
Like, I think Nandita Das was one person, and that too, I saw her because of all the noise that was created around fire, and I was like, okay, and she had shaved hair, and I remember it had quite a foundational impact on me. And then I saw Satya, and there was Shefali. It's just the faces. Like, I was like, oh, okay, this person looks like me.
RGV, the kind of films he made was very realistic, like commercial films which seemed like the art films of like Govind Nimlani, and it had that feel to it, the graininess. There was a significant change. And it was also transitional, so a very crucial period. So Manoj Bajpayee definitely, I mean, his significance is, I would say, I was influenced more as an actor by a lot of other people, but in terms of career, like when I saw him. Of course, if you talk to him, you'll understand the realities of that, because I had no access to him, right? I used to only see his films, and that's how I perceived him. But his reality during that phase is completely different, which I got to know much later. But his success at that point of time, him coming to prominence, was a major factor, was a major influence to me. I also discovered films from America because of cable TV. So in the 90s...
And also Bangalore was quite a cosmopolitan city already by the time?
We used to have English movies. Like, I went to see Schindler's List when it released, and nobody wanted to come with it. Most of my friends were like, what is this film? Like, no, it's been nominated for the Oscar. But I don't recognize anybody. This is not Arnold. Because at that point of time, in that age group,
Terminator,
Arnold, Stallone, Jackie Chan, Chuck Norris. We don't know anybody else. We're not watching.
So when you now know much more about the German history, and then you watch Schindler's List, do you see the difference of how you perceived it?
I'll tell you how I perceived then. I was shocked, obviously, because I hadn't seen anything like that. It was not particularly the atrocities or what happened to the Jews or something like that. I never looked at it and saying that, oh, propaganda or something. It may have been intended to sort of evoke certain emotions or something. For me, it was a cinematic experience. And of course, it is a known fact that Steven Spielberg is one of the greatest filmmakers, of all time from Hollywood. So it was that, but it also kind of shocked me.
Now moving on to you being an actor, what has being an actor taught you about being a human being?
is to develop some sort of empathy. And initially, you do that for very practical reasons, so that you can accept what's written in the script to be reality of that particular character. Many times we have an issue with accepting things.
Yeah.
So then you can't very sincerely portray that character. You can't have a sincere approach. So I think and then slowly you start to realize, समझ आने लगती है तो फिर आपको लगता है कि ठीक है ये empathy का होना आप जिंदगी में भी अच्छी बात है. You have to be if you are an empath.
Yeah.
So which is why, and when I look back at all the teasing that was done to me, I don't have any ill feeling towards any of those kids because they didn't know any better. They didn't. And it's not like again like ऐसे नहीं होता है, तो gradually होता है. तो but then I also realized that it helps me really portray characters in a manner that's effective for me. Yeah. I don't take up certain roles where I feel that I can't develop empathy for it. So I refuse them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not, I don't think I'm one of those who can do it. There have been parts where I feel like that I don't think I can, like Gulshan has an issue with accepting this person's reality that's written, so I kind of stay away.
Like in its core, I find acting to be quite nerdy. It involves a lot of physicality, but also psychology. You constantly want to understand whys and but why does she do this? Yeah. Why would she make this choice? And then you bring that into your life as well, right? So how does your life, your journey as an actor and your journey as a human being overlap?
Like you experience something, like Mat Ko Dard Nahi Hota, I was going through a difficult phase in my life. My marriage was not doing very well. I had broken my knee, I had major knee surgery, and then I had decided to take time off from work. And I wasn't really sure how things are going to go. And I had some money, but not too much. I had some, which helped me pay for the surgery. But then doing that film, I was just, I don't know how, but then like I saw online this quote by Albert Camus that said that in the depths of winter, I find there lay inside me an invincible summer. That really resonated with me. And I was using that for the character of Karate Mani, because in the end, it's a sort of like that. He's drinking himself to death. He's an alcoholic. He has no ambition. In that girl that he so cares for, in kind of saving her, he finds some new purpose in his life and that summer inside him that he wants to do it. Yeah. But then that was like, this is so applicable for me also. And then I feel that in my life, whenever I felt really down and like I've been almost like come to like a brink of like, I don't know, if I like break down anymore, I don't think I'm getting out of this. I've always managed to, something has happened in my life or somebody's done something, like I'm really broke, life then suddenly I get like a thing. Or I find some kind of courage and strength. Also. Yeah, it happens.
It just shows up. Like, I'm like, I don't think if I'll be able to pay maybe the next rent, but the rent after, and then some money will show. I'm like, what? Where did this come from?
But you know, it's also that I think it's not really as external as we think it is.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's also that summer, invincible summer that inside me, that is a spirit. Yeah. And I call that super gulu.
Oh.
It was not the name that I came up with.
So your spirit inside is called Super Gulu. Yeah. So, like for example, I remember watching this masterclass with Luca Guadagnino in Film Companion, and he said that every role that an actor plays is not just a character or a story that he's a part of. It's documentation of the actor's self-journey as well, because the camera lens can look into the soul of the actor, and that actors have to analyze themselves to understand a character and be the medium for the character, which I do believe that when we look at our journey as actors through different characters, it's also a form of self-documentation, self-expression. Do you agree with it?
Sure, yeah, it is definitely. I mean, it's more so when I was younger than now. Yeah, I think it was because I was so self-conscious. It's definitely a way of expressing myself and feeling comfortable with being who I am when I'm hiding behind characters. To base it in reality, like whenever it's possible, that's something that I was obsessed with as a young actor. I was obsessed. Like it has to feel like this is a real person. So maybe that's where it comes from. So you find some things from within you, and then you find some things which is in your imagination.
So tell me, for Mandar, what did you find within you?
I thought of Amol Palekar. I was like, if in the 70s this film was made, Amol Palekar would made. And he's a very likable, nice, like very next door.
That is so total. Now when I connect to it,
And it was that reference. It was Amol Palekar because I had seen his films, and he has a certain he did a certain kinds of films, and mostly he played the average Indian man
Yeah.
who's
And very
looking for a
similar,
job
yeah,
or who's like trying to buy a house or stuff like that.
yeah.
And that milieu, it
Yeah.
really suited. That really helped me understand that milieu, that middle
So
class milieu,
interesting.
Maharashtrian
And for
middle class.
Shaitan?
Uh, and Malcolm McDowell from Clockwork Orange. Now, sometimes it doesn't make any sense.
No, but it does make sense.
Malcolm
Yeah, it
McDowell,
does.
Yeah. It didn't. I wanted it to be a bit more of like a more anarchist-ish, but that's because of my lack of understanding of Bijoy's vision. I suppose I wanted it to be that way. But then he is a good enough director to sort of kind of he got what he wanted. But I think that's the thing. That's an inexperience also. Like you have to understand how this storyteller is going to tell their story.
Some directors like have such great vision, but
Yeah,
so
some do.
they find it difficult to translate it through words
Yeah.
to their actors. What
That's
do you do in that?
I don't know. See, watch their work, spend time with them,
Spend time with
try
them,
things.
find and like
Yeah.
ask the right questions so they give out
Like
the right
sometimes I'm
answers.
like, yeah, Gulshan, I don't know. Maybe this needs to be. Then okay, they're not able to explain it. Okay, fine. We can lose time. I can complain, or maybe I'll just go try something else. Then maybe see if you like it. And it's just like that. Break it down to like, I try something and they're like, yeah, okay, this is good. That's it.
What are the things that you're looking for when you do a character?
I have boiled it down to two things now. This is the general rule of thumb. One, there should be genuine compulsion that I want to play this character. As in, it should excite me. It should be. I boil it down to good for craft.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Simplicity. Good for craft. Second
Good
one is
for
good
money.
for career. Not money. Career.
And what if one is
money is
lacking?
important.
Yeah.
Money is definitely important. But I have taken that equation out for a very specific reason. A good career will make you good money.
Yeah.
Sometimes doing a project, you maybe make a lot of money, but it may not necessarily be very good for your career. You
And what
have
is
great
non-negotiable? Apart from these.
So far, I have not had to negotiate with outside of this. But if it comes, then I'm sure there'll be a really good reason.
I
for
recently
me to
found
sort
out
of-
my non-negotiable is propaganda films.
Okay.
Like, and then of course, depending on the times we live in, you have to decide the spectrum of that
Yeah.
propaganda, right? Like, is it like completely that, or is it like little bit here and little bit there?
Falls
and
in the
that-
category on the first category for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, compulsion. Yeah, that's true. Actually, you've actually come down
Yeah,
to
it's
the
just
core of it.
I feel that, I don't want anybody else to have the agency. Maybe I'm powerless. Maybe I don't really have a choice. But I want to feel responsible for my career. This is where the pragmatism kicks in, which I think I did not have when I was living in Bangalore. I was too idealistic, but I was like, I have to keep my operating costs low. Money is important, right? But when you have money, you still have to be a little careful with it. Enjoy it. You should. You shouldn't feel like you're making money but not really enjoying the money. But at the same time, if you manage to keep your operating costs low, then you don't have to take up jobs just for money. I have no EMIs. I have no loans. Zero. Financial security is different for different people. So once I got to that level, during the lockdown, I realized that I'm okay. Like, I'm not like, I can't splurge money or everything, but I can pay the salaries for the two people who work in my house. For, I don't know, a year, 2 years, I can pay. I'll still be all right. If my family needs help, I have that. So I have enough for me to, and money is not coming in. Because I kept my operating costs pretty low right from the beginning. Apart from this whole sneakerhead by thing.
That's also a thing, in the industry.
Yeah.
Like every second person I meet is a sneakerhead.
Yeah.
So now coming back to the curating part you were talking about,
Yeah.
right? I did not learn it when I came here. Like I was like, oh, casting directors, they're experts. They must know what they want to do.
I'm sure they do.
But I disagree because what?
No, everybody is not.
Not everybody. Of course, there are some incredible ones. Like are really, really even the way they conduct auditions. But and it's not even their fault. It's the industry and the system like that. Where I was typecast as the battered woman, chhodi hui aurat, disempowered women, and the reason was my skin color or the way I looked or whatever. And I think, but I am not this person, and I don't want someone sitting like Sangmitra as a 15-year-old sitting in the north of India and looking like this is what, because it does impact you subconsciously. So then I tried to change my image and I put out pictures that were like hot and modern Indian girl. Then guess I was typecast as the lesbian because the guy will still not like me.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? When you decided to curate your career, was that also a conscious decision?
Very
like,
conscious.
Like
Extremely conscious.
Were you already being pigeonholed?
Yeah, it happens. Like I think I was lucky that I got great directors to work with who took care of me, who gave me great opportunities. 2011 was my debut year. And then that got me a lot of attention, and particularly a film like Shaitan, it got me a lot of attention. But it was very similar roles. I turned on, and it was a risk. And many people, most of them were not upset actually, but some of them would say, like, Gulshan, this is the beginning of your career. You shouldn't say no to such things and all that. So that advice was there. But then I wasn't really working, and then Hate Story came. I thought it was a great idea. I wanted to do, and some people gave me flack for that also. It's okay. I'm not really bothered by it. People can say, people wanted me to, like, be. It's always like, people have expectations that, I have expectations also sometimes, and that's my burden and not the other person's burden. So, but I did that and I enjoyed it. So I wanted it to be as diverse as possible, but it takes time,
Yeah.
It's a game of patience.
Patience.
It takes time.
Brian Caston said that, when people, I saw it in a reel, where he said when I have actors and they come to me and say, I'm going to give myself a year and then I'm going to think if I want to do this. And he would say, I'll give you the money, save that 1 year, because this is for lifetime.
Yeah.
You do this for lifetime. And, like Cillian Murphy said, it takes 30 years to become an actor. You first learn the craft, then you learn the whole trade and the whole work around it.
Oh, you have to
and
learn
the
the
work.
trade. I think it's I'm glad you're saying this, because that's also one of the things that I observed, that I have no idea of the business works. No idea. Zero. I have to learn. And this is definitely an advantage that people have who grew up in the business.
In the business.
They know the business.
Yeah.
They know everything about the business. Even if they don't know things in detail, they understand.
They subconsciously know. They're part of their lived experience.
They know, most importantly, they subconsciously know how perceptions work. The importance of that. We don't.
Oh, wow.
We feel that being good is good enough. And we come and we realize that, there's more to it. Because it's subjective, no? It's the arts. How can you have meritocracy in the arts? How?
Can you elaborate on perception? Like, what do you mean when you say this?
Because you need people to have a good perception about you. If they have to hire you, give an opportunity, let's say it's an opportunity, not a role or anything, an opportunity for you. What you make of that opportunity is up to you.
Yeah.
So if people they have to have some sort of, even when you audition somebody, they develop a perception from that. They might have tested your skills. Yeah. Whether this person has the skill set. And sometimes it's just like, can they look glamorous? Can they look not glamorous?
Yeah.
That also is a requirement sometimes, right?
Yeah.
The hair type, height, and all of those things. Like the aesthetics may be varied.
Yeah.
But again, none of these things are measurable.
Yeah.
They're not
quantifiable.
They're not quantifiable at all.
Yeah.
You and I can look at a painting and have
very different.
Opposing,
completely.
And we both right and entitled to have that opinion. Yeah. So then that's it. So that's what we are. We are always trying to have a consensus, majority consensus. That's what we want. So then, if more people are of the opinion that Sanghamitra is fabulous, then Sanghamitra is fabulous.
Even if Sanghamitra is fabulous, she is fabulous. But so if let's say a young actor came to you and asked you, I heard that podcast that you did, and you were talking about curation, and I want to understand, could you, if you could give me a roadmap to it or a break?
Take interest in your career and learn about the business.
Yourself as well.
Yeah,
and
invest in yourself.
Are,
That's what I'm saying, which is why career is more important than money. If you want to have a good career, then you have to take interest. It's not your managers, it's not your mom and dad. Learn about the business, read your contracts, ask questions, observe things. If you have other people, like, say, for example, somebody else has had a good career, look at them. Why do they have? What are their choices? What could be the reasons why they're making the choices? Have an idea. I saw this, I always give this example of Kartik Aaryan. Yeah. He knew what I wanted to be, even though he wasn't that. Yeah. After his first movie, he was not very successful. Yeah. His films, all the ones where he was dancing and he was like a typical Hindi film hero, they didn't really work. Including a film that he did with Subhash Ghai. It flopped. But he never lost. I feel that I don't know him really well, but wherever we used to meet, we used to ask, but he never lost touch of what he wanted to be, his vision.
How do I curate my journey as an actor as far as craft is concerned?
So really try and break it down. Break down a performance to as the minutest thing as possible and analyze it.
Yeah. Also, one thing I feel that is not often mentioned, which is that put also yourself in uncomfortable emotional situations.
Uncomfortable position. Generally, I would say
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable
You shouldn't be
positions
too comfortable.
because it makes you really become aware of yourself in a psychological way that adds to the
You know,
richness
this
of
is
the.
great because this is great you're saying this, because this is one thing that I have noticed, that the moment some people in their career they become a little comfortable, right? They become stagnant.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
They
I don't
do.
want to take some names from some really good people who were so exciting to watch. The moment they became successful in a very conventional sense, they started making money, you know, they bought a house, and they're like, films are coming. Their work is not exciting anymore because they're too comfortable. That's all right. Money is important, luxury, if you want to, like, go for it. Really reach out for it, go and try and pursue it and get it.
You know, there are some actors who have had a career, they now even have the money, but they're depressed or they're sad because films are not working out, things are not working out, or whatever. And then I'm like, but you have the visibility, you have the stardom, even if little, not big. Why don't you create
But Sangamitra,
meet people around you, create a project.
how many people who come and join this business really come because they want to be actors? Some do.
Some do, yeah.
I think, again, like I'm generalizing. I'm sorry. I don't mean to sort of like, categorize everybody. But most people come here to wanting to be really famous and rich and popular.
Become stars.
Yeah. That's what they come.
Which is really sad.
And a lot of them who accidentally became actors also, they learn some things, but then, and some even fall in love with the whole process and they become better actors also.
I have a question around that, and I don't know if I'll keep this in the final edit, I probably will, but for the sake of conversation, that Sushant Singh Rajput, right, star, even came across as someone who was really interested in doing new kinds of work, wanted to act. But he was like, what I heard was maybe there were other, of course, mental health issues and all of that. What kind of
we all
environment
heard
you live
a
in.
whole lot of things like that.
And that, he was being rejected, his films were not working, and that, he was getting roles that were taken away, and that put him in a really, not in a nice place. But my point was, you could have just gathered some of the best writers from around the world and like, maybe I want to go the Cannes way. Let's make a film where I can make an independent film around it. I can get a crore, 2 crore, 3 crore budget, make a film. I know I have access to someone like Anurag Kashyap. And how do I do the reverse psychology of making a film that gets an entry into even the director's fortnight in Cannes, and then create a PR around it, and then suddenly you're the serious actor that everybody wants to work with.
I don't know him, and then we can only like now guess as to what could have been.
Just generally.
I can't do it. If you ask me, like, let me just take this on myself.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I don't have the aptitude or the. I mean, I don't know. Push comes to shove, maybe I'll do it. But then if you ask me right now, I'm like, I don't have the capacity. See, I know I watched this film Mukkabas. It's a wonderful film, and I think one of the greatest male performances I have seen
in a long time
from any of my contemporaries. Vineet, he wrote that film. He could do it. And he also was going through this same thing in his career. Nothing is happening, not really going anywhere and all that. So he decided to write. He had access to Anurag, who's sort of a relative to him. And then he helped him out, and then he put it together. And then that film came out. I really enjoyed it, and he was so good in that film. Very convincing.
I saw it too.
Yeah, he put in the effort. He was willing to, pay the price for it and all of those things. And that worked out for him. That kind of resurrected his character. It gave it some direction and some body, right? I don't think everybody can do that.
Why would you not?
I can't. Like, even if I'm desperate, then maybe I'll do something else. But I don't know. See, hypothetical situation, maybe I'll do it. So, most of us will never get what we really want. We will never get. Particularly in this business, we will never. We may have good careers. We may make enough money to have a comfortable life and look after our friends and family and even be wealthy. But what is it that you really want?
What do
most
you
of
really
us.
want?
I'm not discussing that with anybody.
Okay.
It has changed. I'll just say that. I'm not rigid about that. Life teaches you. Circumstances teaches you. And definitely during the lockdown, I had a lot of time to sort of contemplate and reflect. And when Sushant died also, that compelled me to think about a lot of my goals and, have a different perspective on things. I like perfection is you never attain. You should never attain perfection, but you should always aspire. So you will get better. So that's my perspective. You see how perspectives are important and how that kind of helps you. These are constructive, healthy perspectives. We can have this a completely opposing viewpoint,
Yeah.
but what we're trying to do is like something good that
Aspiring
keeps us
for excellence.
sensible and
Yeah,
balanced
yeah.
and
Stoicism, which
yeah,
is like
and not
the
really lose the plot.
plot. Yeah. So, Gulshan, what do you do when you have self-doubts?
Sleep.
That always helps.
That
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah.
It relaxes your body, and
Yeah.
that's something that sometimes I struggle quite a bit. And
With sleeping?
I used to be able to sleep much better before. Anxiety has been a thing. Has been my unfriendly companion from a very young age. So that's something that, and without medication, I've been trying to sort of deal with it. So I suppose it'll help if I, uh, take a prescription. But I just don't want to give it the satisfaction.
I have suffered from, I mean, people call it functional depression, but I don't know what, mild depression. Like I can
Yeah,
go
mild.
through life, experience all the thing and be like all overwhelmed with emotions, but still manage life.
I
And
think it's very possible that every human being has gone through
sort of
some mild
spectrum,
depression.
mild depression. People say you're sad. That because that's the word they use, right? When they don't want to use depression, I say, but sad means one is sad and wants to cry. I don't really want to cry. I mean, I might start crying at any point. Me.
But you can use the word depression differently, right? In a sentence, like it's like, oh man, I don't know, man, like nothing's really happening. I'm depressed, which means that I'm upset or sad or
Upset,
something like
yeah,
that. It's
so
not really a
completely-
condition.
Condition, yeah.
It's a temporary feeling. It's a
Feeling.
feeling.
Really, you think it is?
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a
I can, it's
feeling?
I've heard people, and I use it also. Man, I'm depressed.
Yeah, but it is not.
I'm not really
a feeling.
depressed, as in I'm not clinically depressed. I've not been diagnosed. It's not an illness.
Yeah.
It's a feeling. But it is also an.
So, and then 2 years ago, I sort of did a test and they said I have ADHD as well.
Right.
So, which is like brain running at, which I thought was anxiety, but it's basically ADHD. And again, it's this same thing that I don't want to take medications around it. And I really think therapy is one of the most amazing things and that's why psychology and that's why neuroscience, because I want to understand my own mind and I want to understand how it perceives things. Was it the environment? Is it the environment? And you've talked about it.
Fascinating. And my way through, I have not really gone your route. I have a different nerdy approach which is through philosophy. So which is really going inwards.
Yeah.
I think that maybe this is connected to being an actor also, and that might have that experience has helped me also. That you observe things and you try and why, and you do the same with yourself.
With yourself,
with yourself. And
like now I really catch myself like, okay, this is a pattern. And even sometimes you're like, ideally I would have responded this way, but now I'm responding this way. What's happening? So a lot of whys basically. Life has become a big like why this, why that, why this.
I have a little test also that I do with myself periodically. There's no like timetable or something like that every once in a while. Particularly if I'm feeling really good.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, everything is going great. Yeah. Or when I'm feeling like shit.
Yeah, numb. And
when nobody is watching me, what is my real truthful opinion of who I am?
Oh my God, that is so amazing.
Yeah. And then if it's bad, then you have to work on it.
And it's so interesting how the language is so different, but it's the same thing. I stop and I ask myself, what is the story am I telling myself right now?
Okay. Am I telling myself a story?
And that has helped me so much, so much. I don't even call it mental health. I like mental fitness.
Okay.
Like the way we take care of our bodies. Like it's just mental fitness. What does it need now?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, mental fitness. Like why health?
Yeah,
like I want to approach it like fitness.
Yeah,
so
it sounds more fun also.
Yeah, more fun.
Mental health seems like you have to go to the hospital.
Yeah, and action oriented. Like it's like a verb. Like, okay, I didn't work out today, so I'm feeling bloated and I'm feeling like lazy. And I didn't really feed my brain with like good stuff. I was scrolling all day where the whole world was telling me they're having a great time while I'm stuck in this grey weather. Feeling shit where that I was about to get that project that I didn't get, and all of that. So I was okay, my brain needs to get back to some fitness. And you've mentioned earlier in your other interviews that you do therapy.
Yeah, I do.
But in India, it's almost seen, even by young people, as something which is, I mean, it's changing, but as something which is, am I mad? Like, that's the first question they ask. So, what do you think of therapy? You do
I
it
think
yourself.
that's how I also felt like, when I was suggested, like,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, not like I was mad. I was like, no, I mean, like, really, like, I don't need to, like, talk to anybody else. Like, I can do this. And I think I have I'm a bit stubborn that way. I take tremendous satisfaction and pride in being able to figure things out. This is the drawback of making changes from being an absolutely believing in being a useless person because people think I'm useless and you start believing that to develop a thing like I want to do, oh, I did this, I want to do everything by myself.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to
Self-reliant.
yeah, which is now started to become a problem. Like I want the satisfaction of having overcome something without actually seeking help. Now that also can be, it's an extreme,
Yeah.
right? It is an extreme. You have to
Yeah.
have a balanced way.
Yeah.
So then finally at some point I realized that not that I was, I didn't feel that, therapy was not going to help me or talking to somebody won't help me. I just wanted the satisfaction of having done it myself. And I started to realize that's not going to happen. Do I recommend therapy? If you have access, you must. But you also must try and understand yourself and put in some work on your own as well.
It can be both ways. Like I feel
Yeah.
like because again I've been someone who is literally like I can credit my entire life to self-education. Like learned about me, changed ideas about me, what was told to me. Like there's a beautiful James Baldwin quote which I love and which like applies to me, like the one you have from Camus, is that there was a lot of filth that I was taught about myself that I had to unlearn and drop to make me feel like I had the right to walk this earth. Because there's so many things that as a woman, you're told this is wrong with you, that is wrong with you. And if you have parents that also reiterate those words, your first primary caregiver, so you have to unlearn. So now I've come to a place where like, even though I value therapy and I think every human being should do therapy or have some sort of a, where they
I
can
think
talk.
It should be a thing in school.
In school and everything.
Just like talk to somebody once a week or something.
But if someone told me like, why, so do you have a therapist? I'd be like, but like, I can do it myself.
I think I have a good balance with this one. Like,
You do.
I do, most of the work myself and then I'll run it by the therapist or like they'll help me with perspectives that I have not realized. It's happened. Like, I do have like this flashbulb, light bulb moments when I'm talking to them. I'm like, oh yeah, I never thought of that.
Oh,
but thank
that's
you
so
for like,
interesting.
pointing me in
Maybe
that
now I
direction because
should do
now
some therapy.
it's clear now. Like, I can see clearly now that the rain is gone.
You know how as actors we have phases where we have these moments where you're like, maybe it's time to give it up. Like maybe I'm just, maybe I've done it. Yes, they tell me that I'm a good actor. Yes, they tell me, yes, I'm the last two to be selected, but then I don't get it. Maybe it's not going to blow up. Maybe I'm not going to crack it. What do you tell to that person? And if you've had those moments,
Yeah, lots.
what do you do in those moments?
Sometimes nothing. I just indulge in those thoughts and then I get tired of being so negative. And then I was like, fuck this shit. That's too negative. Let me do something positive. And it usually gets better. Like if I get out or meet somebody else or if I'm on set, it's like I really am rejuvenated. Like
Tell me one
sometimes
part that you wanted, you didn't get, and it really broke your heart.
I don't take it, things, because at some level, my understanding is like, I try and break it down as to what is this really about, right? Like, what is this really about? You feel rejected. That's what it's really about. And how is this connected to you now? How is this connected to you when you were a child? Does this kind of have any significance, you being rejected as a child or as a partner or anything like that? All of those things. If there is a pattern there, then you know that this is falling in the pattern. And I think it's important first for me to identify what is this really about. Is this about somebody choosing somebody else or doing a favor or nepotism or like, what is this really about? What it really is about that you feel rejected. That's what most of the time is hurtful because I am feeling rejected because I didn't get a certain part. It's that rejection. And then I have to remind myself of the fact that you're working in the arts. Nobody can quantify talent, skill, a performance. You can't do that. It's impossible to be absolute about this, but I think I've got to a stage where more than a day, I don't really dwell
I'll
upon
give
these
myself
negative.
2 days. Like I'll give an audition. If I didn't get it, then I'll sit on the sofa with my loose t-shirt on, watch Netflix, not move from that sofa for 2 days, and then I'm like, okay.
And you have to figure out your rituals and all of those things
yeah.
like that, and I do sometimes.
But what do you tell? What is your mind? Like, what do you tell your brain?
Don't take it personally.
Don't take
That's
it personally.
I try my best not to take it personally, and in most cases, I'm successful in not taking it personally.
Let's say, like I just want to add
Even if it is personal.
I want to add a nuanced layer to it, where it is like, yes, I have been through 100 rejections,
Yeah.
and I understand this is not personal. But what if I'm just groping in the dark, and this is really never going to lead anywhere? So then, I mean, what do you think?
I fall back on my experience that I have felt like this before. I have overcome this. I'm doing all right. I did better after that.
That
Now,
is
I feel like I'll be able to
amazing.
figure it out.
That
It's
is
okay. It's a setback,
Yeah,
but it's okay.
amazing.
And that is that spirit also. That's that invincible summer that I was talking about.
Yeah.
That
Oh, that
I
is
feel like that. So
That-
I completely stew in my own like thing many times, and then I get really tired about like what the hell am I doing? I'm like
Yeah.
sulking so much. But yeah, you have to allow yourself sometimes to do that also. It's kind of constructive in ways. Like if I'm not passing it on. Like if I'm stressing somebody out, it usually happens that you're talking about this to a partner and they get stressed out. A friend,
Oh my
and like
God,
and
it's
they
so
start telling you.
difficult to be a
Yeah.
partner as an actor. Like it's
Yeah,
like
and then they're
so
like
difficult.
they want to like fix it or something.
And especially if you have a partner that's
yeah, and
also
you
an
don't want
actor.
them to fix. You just want them to listen. Yeah. And then we also try and do that. But
Yeah.
if I feel that this is going to stress somebody else, then I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't really talk about this. Just okay, fine. I'll just sulk.
Now I do it less, but I do make it personal. I'm like, it's almost like questioning my entire
See,
existence.
sometimes it's also jealousy because somebody you know who got it, which is very common in our line of work.
I think
It's impossible to like not face that thing, and you have to find constructive ways.
I think for me, jealousy is not very much the case because I'm like, yeah, but actor hai, or if there is one part and there are 5 people vying for it, one is going to get it. But I think I take it personal as in everything is wrong with me. This human being is wrong. this existence is wrong. Like maybe something is wrong with me.
I tried
And
something. Like I went and told the people if I have access to them, I tell them. Like Rajkumar got a part once in White Tiger. I had auditioned for it and I had a great audition, so I almost made it. But I didn't get the part. He got the part in White Tiger. I was jealous. I'm generally jealous of Rajkumar's
you
career.
said it, yeah.
So I'm like, but I would tell him. Like Raj, like I tried out for that part. I really gave a good audition. The director gave such fabulous response to me also. But
I'd
like
tell the
I'm so
director.
jealous you got this part. So I think it's kind of flattering also to the other person saying that okay, like
You know how this industry, they always talk about this whole concept of networking and showing up and being at places and being seen, being relevant. It's a lot of pressure. There's a craft of an actor and there's a trade of an actor that we were talking about earlier. The craft of an actor requires you to be as raw, as real, develop an inner world, inner
skills, like skill
inner
sets
skills, and just a complete
of things,
being, which involves you to be human. And human is flawed. Human is scars, and human is all of that, dark circles, underslept, whatever that is, and each one looks different. And then the trade of actor is flawless, where you need to be flawless to be castable. You need to be shiny and glowy and show up at places. And in an industry that really brings down most of the things to transaction, especially human exchange, to transactionality, how do you maintain your humanity through that?
you have to, it is a game of perception. You have to play, but you don't have to play the way everybody expects you to play or somebody else is playing it. You can find your own way of like that.
How do you do it?
I do see merit in networking.
Yeah.
That's there in any field, like you meet people, and particularly in a profession that's completely, where perception is so important. And yeah, if you can do it consistently, it's something that you can enjoy. If you can learn, then you should do it. Now, I'm not going to say like don't make Instagram reels or something like that. I can't do it consistently, so I don't do it. And many people say that people are cast these days depending on
social media
how much
followers.
social media following. I'm not casted. You can look at my social media. It's dismal. It's abysmal. Like somebody like me, if I had like worked a little bit on that, I would have had
Yeah,
like
yeah.
2.5
I haven't
million.
checked. I'm
But I
now
don't. I have
so curious to
198K on in this one. Because,
No, really?
Yeah. Because I absolutely love social media and I support social media. I like the concept of social media. But I'm not putting that extra effort into to be interesting to people. And like
Why
that's
not?
not me. I don't want to. I can do it for some time. I can't do it consistently. And this is something you have to do. So I'm like, what can I do consistently? Then I'll do that well. I can take up a job. I can be a professional actor. I can give them an experience saying that I am glad we hired Gulshan because he was excellent to work with.
Wow.
So I just stick to that. I'm not thinking about like, oh, I didn't meet that person. Maybe should I go and say hello to that person? In the beginning, it was my self-consciousness and lack of confidence that stopped me. Now it doesn't. I do sometimes go and say hello to a random person who doesn't know me, and I'll start talking to them. And sometimes they are important people also. I understand the idea of like making a good impression. When I speak to press in particularly, I understand that if you get them to like you, then it's important. So I give them time. I like ask whatever question. I never try to censor them. But this is also me. I want them to sometimes ask me difficult questions because I also want to develop the ability to be able to handle these questions in a diplomatic way many times.
Yeah, you're so good at it actually.
No, I'm learning, but
You're
that's
learning.
also because I want to.
Yeah.
It's not like somebody told me. Most people will tell you avoid these questions.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I want to be.
Face
Yeah. So this is something I can do consistently.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting here talking to I can do this consistent. I'm not very hard. I'm hardworking when it comes to projects and roles, but generally in life I'm not a working person. When I see other people who are so hardworking, they're always doing something. They're able to sort of use that to sort of boost their career also. So maybe I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get that boost in my career. Am I okay with that?
So hustle mode?
I have hustled.
Yeah.
I've nearly landed parts, at least on 2 films, where I kind of hustled for it.
Wow.
But I didn't. It didn't
I'm
disappoint
still
me.
learning
I
that.
was so happy that I actually hustled. It's good for me to know that I can hustle. If
You can
need
hustle
be, I will-
and be successful at it, and it worked. It worked.
I can hustle.
You can hustle.
I don't care if I'm successful at it because this has come from somebody who didn't know that, who thought that he couldn't hustle. See, when we go to like events now, some screening or a wedding or something like that, it's also a networking event like that. So in my experience, when you go there, even sometimes people I know really well, they'll come, hey, hi, how you doing? And they're always like scanning the room.
Yeah, they're looking
They're
at someone
scanning
else.
the room.
And to me,
I understand why. I'm not offended by it at all. It's like, you're my friend, you know me. Whatever you had to get from me, you have access to me. But you are looking for who's more important than these people who I want to go and like network with, make a good impression on. So I look at it, the lack of feeling really insulates me. So I'm not hurt.
Wow.
I'm not hurt by it. Okay. But at the same time, I don't want to be that person who will walk into a room and scan the room.
Yeah. Yes. I totally
So I'm like,
agree.
I'm not, if this means that, I'm not introduced to some people or I'm not able to make an impression on people, and I want to go there sometimes because I do genuinely find some people interesting. I want to talk to them.
one human
Maybe there's a bunch of them in a group
absolutely.
also. Sometimes bump into random strangers who have no idea.
Have a really great conversation.
Yeah, and then you never meet them ever in your life.
It's so amazing. Yeah, I agree.
That's fun.
Totally. Yeah,
that's what I want to be. So I have chosen that this is how I'm going to play the game. And maybe it has its benefits and it has its... some benefits will not be there. And I feel that, if something has worked for me, people like me, appreciate my work, and if it has created some value for me, that's because of who I am.
Yeah.
I think that's what helps me not lose my humanity.
So, Gulshan, what kind of stories do you think we are not telling?
I really don't know. Maybe like 10 years ago, I had some opinion about it. But now I don't really...
I feel like deeply personal female films can be told. Like where 3 friends
There
are
is
not going
now
out.
Again, this is very interesting. I'm glad you brought up. Women don't go to theaters and watch films as many as men.
Yeah,
If you go to a theater, any random film you take, you see the amount of men and some amount of women. It's always more men. Even if there are 20 people sitting and watching that movie, it's always going to be more. I'm just giving a very example, but generally the theater-going audience.
But there's a
is
sociological reason to it.
Yes, there are lot of reasons to it. This will also bring about some kind of financial because women relate to women's stories, right? Right?
Yeah.
Like I may be able to relate to like a female character in some film, but I won't be able to, as a man, I won't be able to relate to that person consistently. I may be appreciative of their craft, or they may entertain the shit out of me. So that may be a reason for me to go. But then I won't be able to relate to a woman's, a particular gender that's not mine consistently.
Yeah.
So that may not make it interesting for them.
It's like a catch-22 situation.
Yeah, so women making stories telling women's stories also for women.
Yeah.
But you need them to come. So we have to also create environments where they
Can
feel,
come.
they want to come to theaters and they can come.
It's so interesting because it's not the case in Europe. When you go to a movie theater, it's quite balanced. Sometimes actually you see more women. So then it is the society as well.
It's a social thing, definitely. I put out a tweet once and all that. I was very surprised because I didn't know, because I had my own ideas, like this. But people also said that, the toilets are not good.
Toilets are not good. Like I
So
don't.
that is a
even-
reason for people also to say, I'm going to stay at home and watch TV.
Also, if I have a job, then I can only go for a night show or an evening show. Then I need to wait for a
All of
friend
these
to
things.
only. I can't go alone. So there's so many factors.
There are so many
to
factors. So this, I think, will make a significant difference in films with female protagonists. They will also bring in more numbers. That will create an equilibrium. Then it won't be like, the male stars are the highest paid. I mean, it happens every once in a while. There was a Marathi film which became a super hit because women went and watched it. But these are every once in a while.
Rare.
Every once in a while. Why have all the top stars of this country or in the world have been men? Why? Let's look at it from a business reason, because it's also a business.
It is a
The
business.
entertainment
It's
business.
primarily a business.
It's art and also business. They try and go hand in hand. If consistently, say one female star has a film that goes 1,000 crores, and they got the women to watch it, that can only happen when once in a while if you get all the men to go and watch it. But if it happens consistently, they become bankable. That's also because you're getting now your audience, which is the women, to also go and watch it.
So, Gulshan, you often, not often, but you have mentioned before that you think about death, right?
I do. Yeah.
And I'm someone who, I'm constantly aware of my mortality.
You've done a lot of research.
Because I think I also find a lot of relatability. I don't remember the first time I thought about the concept of death. I'm always aware of it. Like even if I'm making a difficult choice in life, or even a regular choice in life, and I always think, if I died the next moment, would I be happy with the last moment that I was living? Right? Like you said in one of your interviews, that it's not like ideation of suicide. Like I will be walking around in some part of the world and I'll think, which part of the world would be the last step? Where would it be? India? Would it be in Bombay, where I'd be walking for the last time or being for the last time? So with you, what does it mean? Like what do you mean when you think of death?
It's just that it's inevitable. It's going to happen. And then the closer death starts to happen in your family, you start to realize, you become more and more aware of it. Yeah. That this is inevitable, it's going to happen. And then you fantasize about how you're going to die. And at least for me, it's like, the death should be glorious. Glorious. Like, everybody is watching my film in a packed theater, and then everybody get up in applause and they realize that I have passed away in my seat.
Just such a sad thought. But
Yeah, it's a
I
sad
totally
thought.
but I get it.
Yeah,
I
then
get
immediately
it.
that's how I
and
feel like that,
I
yeah.
also understand the
But
humor
that's
around it.
Yeah, it's funny, and it's a glory seeker sort of a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to be. One, I can hope and I can, plan and make, kind of insulate myself to the best of my abilities to sort of make it as meaningful as possible, my life. Can I really, at what point do I have no control over it? At any point it can be that you have no control over it.
Yeah.
It can happen. But we also have a certain confidence, right? Like when we step out of the house, that
I'm going to come back
vehicle,
home.
yeah, I'm going to come back home. Nothing's going to happen. I'm not going to be hit by lightning, or meteor is not going to fall on my head, or some stray bullet will catch me, or some person who thinks I'm a wrong person, and he, I get shot dead or knifed or hit by an act, any of these things can happen. Like, like what you said, like what's keeping me alive? Like, what is the reason for me to be alive? And then you have to like count all of those reasons to be alive. And then you start to realize that this is going pretty, very depressing. Having awareness of death is very good. Acceptance of death is good, because it's going to happen.
The thing is that I don't really think of it consciously. It's like, it's something like anything crucial happens and that thought pops up. Like, it's like my compass. So death is such a mystery that is also fascinating.
Yeah, we just lost our cat, like Ira. She was, that's been very difficult to sort of, like, that's my experience with that has been the most difficult, like, than losing like a close person. And then,
It's like losing a 5-year-old baby, right? Because
more than that. That's what it seemed like to me. Yeah, she was like a daughter, companion, friend, a lot of things. So I really,
How long
I
back
miss
was
her.
this?
March.
And
I don't think I'm over it. I don't know if I'm ever going to get over it completely.
Would you get
I've
another
accepted
one?
it. No, sure, 2 children are there.
Yeah, okay. If you could invite 3 people, living or dead, for dinner, who would those 3 people be, and what would you talk about?
Irfan Khan,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
definitely invite. And then, since this is not really bound by anything, then it was like Bob Marley.
Yeah. I'm living there, three
Living.
people from any
From
time.
living or dead, you
Living
say?
or dead.
Oh, living or dead. I'll just look at dead people. Like
Yeah.
I think it's more interesting, sort of,
So
to
Irfan, Bob
fantasize.
Marley.
Bob Marley, and and my cat Ira.
What do you think they would be talking about?
I don't think I'll be paying attention to those two because I'll be really happy to sort of be reunited with Ira. Irfan, because I never really had a relationship with him, but I got to know him. I mean, I was very appreciative. He had a huge influence on me being on the craft. And he was an inspiration. He continues to be one. And he was very appreciative of my work as well, and always said nice things to me and encouraging. And he had a keen interest in like what I'm doing and all that. But I never really got to know him. I never spoke to him more than I don't know, like 10 minutes. I think I would like to, and that sense of loss was there when like
Felt
I never
personal.
got-
It felt so personal.
It felt personal for a lot of us.
All of us.
Even people who are not actors, it felt personal. But I mean, yes, like I was, the two things that I realized that how valuable this person's career and his craft was to me, that I realized when he died, and also that I didn't get to know him at all. And I don't particularly say that, I don't regret it that I don't get to know him, but because this is a hypothetical situation, that I'd like to really talk about, a lot of things with him. Bob Marley, because again, like he's of another era, and there was a phase when I think his music and his philosophy kind of helped me. It taught me how to fight, sometimes myself. And Ira, because I miss her. I miss her. I don't think I wish I had more time with her,
How old was she?
She was 13, yeah, 13. I wish I had more time with her.
Do you want to have some water?
No, it's all fine. It's all right to be emotional.
Yeah. You said that you said something that slipped my mind, but it was such a good point that had come. It has gone.
Damn
the
it.
ether.
See, now I'm crying. I faked it in Indian Metro, and now I'm totally crying. Ready for the shot? Ready.
Yeah. Do you want a tissue paper?
No, it's
No.
okay.
Okay. If you could bring it down to a core, what do you want from life, both as a human being and as an actor?
I want to do my best and not regret that I didn't try. It's not really about how much money. I want it to be about not really all my achievements. I want it to be, again, this is being an idealist. I want it to be like when I'm sitting, when nobody is watching, I'm asking myself, so now, finally, what is the last opinion that you have about yourself? And I want it to be a good opinion.
Oh, wow. If you met your...
I don't know if I'll achieve that. I'll aspire to it. It's a thing that I always like.
Why art and why does it matter?
It's as important as anything else. Like, I feel that it's an aspect that human beings are, I can't really explain it. Even if you look at it like historically, human beings have always needed to tell stories and make art. And it keeps us, I think it makes us alive. Yeah. It's something that comes naturally to us, I feel.
And also stories make us empathic about the other.
Yeah, I mean, all of these things we are like, from a modern perspective when we think of it, and also our influences, we kind of make our own sense, and we have,
of it.
Yeah, and we feel it's I don't want to glorify it. Some people use generally also, even the craft also, I don't glorify it, and I have an issue with people making like
art into like this,
craft into something like they're doing something really like
No, but what you
dedicated
say about Bob Marley, like he when you heard his songs, he as a musician prepared you for that fight that is needed.
Yeah.
Right?
What his songs meant
now
and what
I
it
remember
said.
my question. Yeah.
It's not even the lyrics, the way they felt, they felt like it was a slow
Leonard Cohen
grind.
did that for me. Like I was like when I would go like reading Leonard Cohen, watching Irfan Khan gives me a sense of, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, this makes sense. Okay, I get it. Like I might not find the right words for it, but it gives me a sense of I don't know, my mortality, you know.
It's giving me like meaning in my life,
Meaning
and I
in my
enjoy
life,
it. Yeah, that's what it is. Art.
yeah,
So why are we've always had art? I can't really explain it. It's like death is inevitable. I think art is also inevitable.
Inevitable. That
It's
is
like
so
it will be.
beautiful. Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't have to
I'm gonna remember
even
that
try.
art is
People will do
inevitable.
it. It's just
Yeah,
that
yeah.
now some of us have chosen it to be like our profession as well.
Yeah,
And we
yeah,
said like I chose it. I don't know if I'm destined or I was born to do this or something, but I definitely remember making a choice and saying that I like this. I want to do this.
I mean, I know a lot of times people turn around and say, yeah, but you know, what you do, does it save lives? Is it like being a doctor that saves
Sure.
life? Yeah, it does save lives. It
I'll
did.
not to show off,
Yeah.
but then somebody who watched 8 a.m. Metro sent me a message about about a time in their life. There was a loss in their life, and they were really like didn't know what to do, and they were contemplating doing something stupid with their life. And then they saw the film, and it made them feel better because somewhere I think they just needed to have a good cry.
Yeah.
And then they were like, no, I don't want to do those things that I was thinking about. I'm able to deal with it right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can take no credit for it because I didn't intend it to be like meaningful in somebody's life. And I think that's the best art. You look at a blank canvas and you say, I don't know what's going to come of it. You start painting, and then something comes of it. And maybe that saves somebody's life because they were on their way to sort of, I don't know, kill somebody or murder themselves or something. And they saw this painting and they changed their mind because it made them feel, it showed them some perspective.
Art does save lives. It did mine. It did
So
mine.
I'm just saying that, it can make people happy.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll make you sad so that you can actually cry because many
Cry
times you don't have
and
enough time to cry.
Right. And also not enough, we don't really give ourselves the space to feel uncomfortable emotions, and art also nudges us towards that, right? Right. Okay. Final one. If you met your 21-year-old self today, what would you tell him?
Man, it all worked out absolutely fine. You were like scared, but then we figured it out, buddy. We figured it out. I sometimes used to feel that my 5-year-old needs, the care, like me to like, but I don't think so. I think that 5-year-old has to be let free. I think it's my teenage self, I think like 14 to 21.
Needs to have a conversation with you.
That's the guy I need to like put my arms around and say like, hey buddy, we figured it out.
So it's my 7-year-old, and at times I've enacted opening the door, my apartment door, letting her in, showing my house, opening my fridge and saying, see, all of this is how I live. This is sit next to me. We watched. It has been so healing. I can't tell you. Okay, final one. What would an ideal day look like in Gulshan's life 10 years from now?
I have no idea. Absolutely no idea.
No idea.
And I don't want to also. I want it to be surprising. Maybe I'm doing something that I never thought of and maybe I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Thank you, Gulshan, for sharing your story and sharing everything and being so generous.
You made me cry.
I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or a thing, but it was...
It's totally fine.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and this has been great.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.